Welcome to the Budcast, episode 5, where we discuss smart solutions to dumb problems and dumb solutions to problems that no one has. Disclaimer: we don't claim to know anything, and we are not experts in any stretch of the imagination, and our opinions are not facts. With that being said, Mike, how are we doing today?
Pretty good. Wow. I'm on a podcast that's not mine. This is weird.
I also confused Ted there because I usually introduced him first.
I wasn't sure how we were going to go there. I wasn't sure if it was going to be Ted and then special guest Mike, and then I didn't know. I wasn't ready.
So yeah, special guest Mike.
Other way.
Mike.
Yeah,
Mike,
that way. Yeah.
Well, because we're both pointing in opposite
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah.
Anyways, Mike is the third compadre, friend, the whatever you want to call it, of the not the Budcast, the Cringe Crew, Cringe Crew Gaming.
Yeah,
that's what it is. It's okay, Ted. You always call it your Discord, anyways. So.
Well, okay. Listen, it's not because I own it. It's just because it's easier to reference it that way. Because everyone always asks, "What is Cringe Crew?" It saves me some words in the long run, you know.
Sure does. What are you drinking, Ted?
So because Mike's here from a state that doesn't exist in a time zone that isn't real, I got
fucking Twilight Zone over here.
Yeah, Mountain Time isn't real. It's fake. It's a lie created by the government. Okay.
To be honest, I didn't even know it existed until I moved here,
and it still isn't real. They're lying to you, Mike.
I've known its existence since I was like old enough to know that time exists.
But I got a pecan pie stout from Epic Brewing that's in Salt Lake City. It's an imperial stout aged in whiskey barrels with coffee, cocoa, pecans, cinnamon, and vanilla. It's not as good as it sounded on the label, but it is still pretty fucking
It does
crisp.
sound very complex.
Yeah. I was hoping for a little more out of it, but I also bought it today and didn't age it for a single second, so you know.
I've just got water because I'm a butt. I also haven't bought beer in a while. But Mike, what about you?
I've got 2 drinks because I'm cool. I've got some Dragon's Milk and some G Fuel Phase X. Because
What a cool guy.
Alrighty then.
Gamer juice.
So, Mike, I suppose that this is your quote unquote episode. So, what do we got here? What am I looking at?
All right, so I don't know what's going on here. So, in case you're unaware, I also have my own podcast, the Cringe Crew Music Podcast that I run every Sunday, live on Twitch, and then I get the videos up eventually, usually like a week or 2 later. The deal with that podcast is every week, me and my co-hosts Stephen and Connolly pick an album. Sometimes we'll decide on a theme for the album or just one that we just feel like talking about for that week. We'll all listen to those 3 albums and then just give our thoughts on it. And then if I've picked up like a new vinyl release or something, because I collect vinyl, I'll do a vinyl update. And if not, if we have some other topic, we'll mention that. So a little bit more structure than I guess here, where it's just kind of whatever. But that's cool.
What is this? What is this structure you speak of?
Yeah, it's funny because usually we go like we usually at least like highlight some things that we want to talk about, and then last week Bud and I are both just like, hey, do we have stuff? No, we don't have stuff. Fuck it, and that was the episode. We just ran for an hour talking about nothing.
So I guess for topics, I kind of had like 3 possible topics that we could talk about, but I guess how we'll do it is we'll just kind of go through all of them in order, because why not? So, cool thing that I did last year is I did a Disney College program, which is basically a 4-month internship where you can work at either Disneyland or Disney World. Kind of the differences there is if you work at Disneyland, you have to buy your own housing and it's more expensive. But if you work at Disney World, they provide the housing and they just take the rent out of your paycheck. So it's pretty cool. So I did that for 4 months, which I thought was pretty neat. You get to go to the parks for free. It's really fucking neato. So I did that. I didn't do anything exciting, though. I worked in a kitchen for 4 months and it fucking sucked. A cool story I can tell you, though, is the burger machine at Hollywood Studios at Backlot Express Restaurant probably catches on fire 2 to 3 times a week. Because it is a big metal box with a conveyor. 2 conveyors, right? So the top conveyor is for buns, and you put the buns in and it toasts it, right? The bottom bun is for the burgers. and there's a grease trap in the bottom and it leaks and they keep a bucket underneath it. And by the end of the day, it's like full and it's gross and you got to pour it out in the back and it's gross. So the grease inside of the thing will catch on fire. And so you'll have to get a manager to come and dump like baking soda on it.
I was really worried you were about to say water.
Yeah,
Worried.
I wanted it to be water. I want when it's a problem 2 to 3 times a week. I wanted them to make it worse 2 to 3 times a week.
Why you got to get a manager though?
Because you're sitting there at the back and you're like, oh, the thing's on fire. Josh, help.
No, oh my god, I can literally see that now. Like you're just like sitting there, like I don't know, making hamburgers. Maybe you're flipping switches. Maybe you're actually just like flipping burger. I don't know. But like you're just sitting there and you hear just out of the corner of your ear, and you're like, "Hey, Josh, it's happening again." And then you just go back to work and ignore the fire on your shoulder. Like,
I mean, that's basically what happens. Like you'll notice it as like a really small fire in the bottom, and you're like, "Oh, that doesn't look good." We'll see what happens, and then like 10 minutes go by, and it's significantly
we'll see what
bigger,
happens.
and you're like, "Oh, okay, now it's a problem."
I love that fire of any size goes, let's just work around it, see what happens to it, and you just kind of ignore it while it's small.
Oh my god, dude, that is nothing. We should have had the fire department called on us about, oh god, what, 3 weeks ago now? We burned a couch, a mattress, and 2 recliners. All pretty much at once.
I hope they were like, you were done being used with them instead of it was just drunk and the first thing you grabbed out of your living room.
Okay, no. Was drunk, but they were meant to be burned. They came from my brother's apartment. They got new furniture.
Gotcha. Okay.
There's a picture, and maybe we'll edit it into the Budcast. Who knows? Probably not. Not sure. Where my brother and I are sitting on that couch, and the fire is so hot from the recliner that the couch that I was actively sitting on, and the part of it that I was sitting on was actively melting.
Oh.
It was very, very warm.
While that's impressive, that's also horrifying, and I would get out of that chair long before it started to melt, I'm guessing.
I thought I sent a picture of that to the Discord.
I feel like you may have sent me a Snapchat of it, but I don't recall seeing it in Discord. I don't know anything, man.
Well, anyways, I digress.
Yeah.
I like fire though.
Fire good.
I really like fire.
Fire good. What else you got from Disney, Mike? Other dumb things?
So I guess just kind of like behind the scenes areas that only cast members see that guests normally wouldn't see. So our break room at Backlot was directly across from kind of the setup area for one of the Star Wars shows that they do. So directly next to Backlot Express is Star Tours, the ride. And right next to that is a little show that they do where they get kids to come up and volunteer and they fight Darth Vader or whatever.
Oh, I've seen like videos of that.
I saw a gif of that today as a matter of fact.
So the setup area is directly across from our break room. So I'd see the dude who's playing Kylo Ren for the day, like every day, like putting on his costume. And I thought that was pretty neat.
That's pretty cool.
But speaking of costumes, so Disney has like a pretty strict dress code policy. Like your hair has to be a certain length. You either all or nothing with facial hair, so you can't trim. You either have to shave it all off or it has to be like fully grown in or whatever. And then each area has their own uniform or costume as it is. So each park kind of has like a cast member building. So you pull into the parking lot, you go into the cast member building, and then costuming is in that building. So you'll go in there and pick up your costume for the day and go to work, basically. So I guess it was kind of cool just seeing all the different costumes for all the different areas or whatever. So that's neat. What else? I know that like one kind of well-known Disney World thing is that there's tunnels underneath Magic Kingdom, and yes, that is true. I've been in them. They're called the Utilidors officially, and yeah, it's just underground tunnels for cast members to get from one side of the park to the other. So you don't see fucking, I don't know, some dude from Pirates of the Caribbean walking in front of Haunted Mansion, right? Like you go into a back area and then you go underground, and there's signs that point from each area of the park, kind of deal.
I want them to be like Assassin's Creed catacombs, kind of like dank, disgusting, and if you make a wrong turn, there's just a room full of skeletons kind of thing. I'm guessing that's not it, but that's what I want. In my head, that's what I'm imagining. You're walking over top of that in the happiest place on earth.
Did someone mention bones?
Oh,
just rooms full of dead people. Like that's what I want to believe that you're walking over.
Dude,
as you walk
that
around
throws
Disney.
like hardcore like the forest vibes.
A little bit.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't even know if I'd argue a little bit, man. All those caves were dank and there were bodies everywhere.
Do they look like, Mike? Do they look like service tunnels? Do they look like, just brick tunnels? Do they look hand dug like Disney
they're
used
just kinda
slave labor? Like what
service
kind of
tunnels? It's just metal green walls with like piping and stuff. That's it.
So yeah, like I mean, you'd call them the utilidors, right? So
yeah.
So basically how you get into them is if you go directly behind Magic Kingdom. So if you're coming down the road in front of Magic Kingdom, you can see Space Mountain on the right side. There's a road there that goes off to the right. So you go down that road and you'll make a left. You'll pass like where the monorail service station is. And there's like it kind of looks like a truck dock area that kind of goes down. So it's like you're going in an underground parking garage, basically. And so how cast members get there is also behind Magic Kingdom is a place called Disney University. And that's kind of where like the training building is. And there's also like a cool cast member exclusive store there where you can buy your cast member t-shirts and bumper stickers and shit. So there's a bus stop there. That will take you to another bus stop called West Clock, which is the one that takes you into the Magic Kingdom utilidors.
Interesting.
So, also, lesser known fact is Epcot also has similar tunnels, but they're not as big. I have. Hi,
Mom. I was always very ready for that to be my mom. Hi, how are you? I was always ready for that to be my mom. Never ready for that to be somebody else's mom.
You've got a lively house there, Mike.
I was gonna say, Mad keeps making cameos in the background, just turning his bag towards us. Your mom comes in, just like, "Yo, what up?" Like,
like she just walks in, doesn't say anything, and then leaves. Like I don't know.
Thin air.
But anyway, Epcot tunnels. I have not been in the Epcot one. I don't even know how to get into them.
Question.
Yeah.
Is it like at Disney, like where they have like the garbage bins that don't ever get full because they like drop away? Like you throw garbage in and then you close the lid and then like the bottom drops out and drops all the garbage down like into a different holding bay?
No.
Okay. I don't know where I saw that. I saw a video of a
know what
kid
you're talking
jumping into
about.
that. Yeah.
I saw. Have you seen the video of the kid that like climbs in it and gets
Yep,
stuck, and then
that's
the other
exactly
kid has
the one that I was thinking
Be
about.
like, ah!
They start panicking hard too.
Well,
like,
yeah,
damn.
Wouldn't you?
I'd be smart enough not to put myself in a position like that. And if I did, I wouldn't freak out because I know that they're not going to have a massive trash compacting machine down there with a fucking Star Wars monster in it, okay?
Yeah.
Well, maybe not with a Star Wars monster, but you may in fact get compacted. If
I'm
all
sure
they expect to go
they're-
down there, there has to be some sort of failsafe, and I get it.
That's what I was just thinking. There's got to be.
Yeah,
But I don't know how often they check that failsafe. Is there a guy who's just his predetermined job is just stand there, look at the pile of trash, and make sure none of it's human? Like,
Nah, it's probably like a motion sensor, honestly. Just like a built-in motion, because trash doesn't move once it's like in there and settles, which doesn't take very long.
I guess it depends on like when the sensor goes active and like. I mean, if you get sucked down a pneumonic tube, and you lose consciousness, like how long do they have before they decide, all right, it's not moving?
Like some Grinch Before Christmas stuff, they take all their garbage and drop it at the mountain.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
which, by the way, I never understood the feasibility of let's build a series of pneumatic pipelines and tubes that'll take our garbage up a mountain. Like,
I mean, did Bud just lag out, or was that on my end? I don't know.
It might have been your end. He's fine for me.
Okay, it's all back to normal now. There was just like half a second of it's great. It's great. Good content, dude. Yeah, I see you're jamming, so you're probably good now.
Cat jam.
But anyway, I guess like the last couple things I'll mention as far as Disney goes. So I mentioned that I worked at Hollywood Studios. So cool thing that I got, and it's on my fridge there for the 30th anniversary, and that's a cast member exclusive magnet thing. I'll take it off.
Stretch.
It's very cool.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I've never been to Disney anything.
Same, actually.
Oh wow.
There was always that rumor that Like, so my family didn't have a whole lot of money when we were growing up, so like Disney's fucking expensive, bro. So like it wasn't anything until I was like teenager adulthood kind of thing, and then like I've always been of the mindset like, hey, Disney didn't like Jews, and even if it's not true, the company, the guy didn't, and it's just like, I'm gonna stick to that as the reason I've never been, and now I'm gonna hold firm to it, even if I don't like believe it. Like it just is what
Are
it
you sure
is.
it's not because they've got Walt Disney's head frozen and like cryogenically down in like the caves tunnels?
Yeah,
like
Walt Disney and Joe DiMaggio, they're the only two people frozen underneath Disney World. I swear to God. They're in those tunnels next to the pile of bones in the room that look like Assassin's Creed catacombs.
I'm just saying, not that it's impossible for them to have had the technology and the know-how.
Hello again.
But the ability to cryogenically freeze someone is a logistical nightmare.
I guess just okay. So like,
you need to dehydrate them before you freeze them, because otherwise the ice is gonna, or the water is gonna freeze and expand into ice, and it's gonna rupture every single living cell in that frozen body. And when you unfreeze them, they're just gonna turn into a pile of mush.
So my fear with cryogenics, right, is like we don't know how to unfreeze it and make it usable. So how do we know now? How do we know now how to freeze it?
How it works now is they just freeze people, and they're just like, yeah, we'll thaw you once we figure out how to do that without killing you.
No, it's literally what they do. And part of me is like, yeah, dude, I want to do that. I want to do that. But then the rest of me is like, it's not even a matter of will they eventually figure it out, or will that just be my death? It's more of a, if they do manage to figure it out, how far into the future will it be? And would I even be relevant anymore?
And my thing is like, they don't know how to like unfreeze you and utilize you. You know what I mean? Like, it's rare enough that we find fossils of whatever in ice in the Arctic or the Antarctic or whatever, right? But like, they don't know how to like unfreeze you and make you like animated again, right? For lack of a better word. Like, what if we've been freezing people? Year 3000 comes around, right? And they're just like, all right, time to start unfreezing all these people. Oh, they put water in there. Guess we can't do it. And then we've been wasting our times freezing ourselves because they go, the way to unfreeze people and keep them alive is X, Y, and Z, but they fucked up the directions because they didn't know 1,000 years.
See, I would like to think in that span of time, because we've been well documenting the process of freezing humans. Like, it's well documented.
Sure.
And we don't use water.
You get my point.
No, I don't mean like, no. I know your point. That's exactly what I'm saying though, is how do we know we've been doing it right? Like, at the time that Walt Disney could have had his head frozen, like, did we know enough to do it properly? Or is when they defrost him, his brain just going to become a pile of, like, mushy gray matter?
Just former brain cells, yeah.
No, not even brain cells. They've all exploded. Because moisture, water.
Former brain cells. They're no longer brain cells. They're just, they used to be.
You have to replace the water with something else to, A, hold its shape, and B, to not explode when it freezes. It's like, because I'm in heat transfer right now, it's a fucking logistical nightmare. Oh my god, the calculations, like, just trying to find like the heat transfer rate through a fucking heat exchanger is 2.5 pages of calculations, and it sucks. And that's for things that are like, yep, this is exactly a cylinder and is exactly this long in a box that's exactly this, not a human that is a confusing mishmash shaped with different varying amounts of fat, muscle, like tissue stuff,
and different temperatures for different parts of the body. Yeah.
Like your armpits are stinky and warm.
Yeah,
they're gonna freeze last.
Right.
Well, last compared to your fingers.
Yeah, I just the whole thing seems miserable.
Yeah, it does seem miserable. I would ask Mike if he believed in that theory, but I feel like I know the answer.
Well, he saw Walt Disney's head in the
catacombs.
Probably
unlikely, but like, I don't know. I want to say no.
Okay.
And then it turns out, like, years later, they find a secret room in the utilidors that was hidden or some shit, and
it's Walt Disney.
He's been in there the whole time.
I feel like it's not in the utilidors. I feel like it's gonna be like hidden underneath like a tree. Like a really ancient tree in Disneyland, and like you have to uproot the tree in order to get into that place. That's why no one's found it yet.
It's just in a mini fridge in the manager's office.
That's why they don't. That's why it's so hard to get in there.
Whoa,
I
we
just
might
assumed-
be onto something, boys.
I just assumed mini fridge in the manager's office. Everyone goes, it's just Coke in there. I don't need to check.
Anyone asks, like, is that Walt Disney's head? No, it's just a joke, but it's actually his head.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
All right, Mike, what else you got? More Disney stuff or moving on to something else?
I guess we can wrap up Disney stuff unless you had like questions about things, but we can move on.
Nah, I'm pretty happy.
I'm square.
All right. Well then, I guess we'll move on to music stuff since this is technically a crossover episode.
I should mention, I am musically inclined. I played in a band in high school, but like in regards to like actual like album music and stuff like that, it's not me. Not that I don't enjoy it, but like,
Yeah.
I don't know shit about it.
So I mentioned on my podcast we sometimes talk about once we finish up doing like our 3 albums for the week, we'll mention other stuff. So I've done like buying guides for like hi-fi audio gear and buying guides for turntables and stuff. So I guess I'll just kind of I've grabbed like a stack of some of the records that I have in my collection and that I thought were neat. I just kind of randomly grabbed some stuff and I'll just kind of talk about why I bought them and what's cool about them. So I'll just go from the top. So, Strapping Young Lad, their first album, Heavy is a Really Heavy Thing. So this is the first album that Devin Townsend released after doing his album with Steve Vai.
That sounds like a Budward sentence. Heavy is a thing that's heavy.
No, it's a really heavy thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's wonderful. I love that.
So basically, this album is Devin being angry about the music industry not being how he thought it would be, and it's him yelling for an hour and a half. But it's a good album. On the gatefold is a picture of his bare ass in Hollywood or shit. So it's cool thing about this is the vinyl is blue and red, and there's a little etching on the back of
I can kind of see it.
Self-portrait of Devin taking a shit.
Okay.
Yeah, you can kind of see it with the reflection.
I was gonna say the reflection kind of shows it. It's tough to see over the camera, but like with the reflection, you could kind of get little bits of it.
Yeah, it's on the front here. That's what the.
Like. Oh, yeah. I just see a reflection of Discord, but yeah.
Yeah. I'll just take your word for it.
But about all the Strapping albums, I think the first one's my favorite, purely because there is a song on this album called "Satan's Ice Cream Truck," and it's a song.
I love that it's like there's one comedian, and he wasn't like super big or anything ever, but like he said he was going to start naming his jokes after rock band songs because none of them make any sense to the context anyway. You know, so he mentions bullet with butterfly wings, nails for breakfast, tacks for snacks, that kind of thing, and it just makes me think about all the rock music that's titled like things that have nothing to do with it, like Satan's Ice Cream Truck. I hope to God that's literally not about like the devil himself running an ice cream truck.
It is.
Oh, well in that case,
wonderful.
I'm lagging again. Sorry about that. Discord fucking pooped. Mike, you were saying.
Discord needs more fiber.
First Strapping album, it's my favorite one out of all of them. I know that maybe Alien and City are kind of the favorites, but I like the first one just because yelling about music industry bad. So the next album I've got, Wicked Face Brings Eternal's Suffer On. This album was my kind of introduction to him. He kind of leads the Goth Boy Click collective that Little Peep was a part of. So kind of sad boy rap with acoustic guitars and trap stuff. But I like this album a lot. The vinyl is actually pretty cool too. I'll take that out. Have clear.
It's pretty sick.
Some specs on it.
How often do you find, Mike, in the music that you pick up that like vinyl does have like color? Because like when I started collecting vinyl, like everything was like, I think I own one record that's just plain black. Like, you know, the first time I brought home a record, my mom and dad were like, dude, are you sure that's gonna play, or is that just for pretty decoration? Like it doesn't look like it's gonna play. It's got bright colors. Like, I feel like most artists anymore are selling them in color, but like, how often are you finding in your genres that you're searching for that like?
Pretty much all the time. Like, there's usually limited editions with the different colors and stuff. So Those are usually made in limited quantities and they sell out really fast, and they have just plain black as if you miss it, you still get the album, right?
Right.
But I find it all the time. But like I said, it's limited, so it's kind of hard to get a hold of.
Right. Got to be prepped. Get them Twitter notifications, dog.
There was one vinyl record that I wanted, and it's the wow, I just forgot it's a video game. Like Dark Souls, but side scroller. And you're a bug.
Oh, Blasphemous.
No.
No, not that one.
Hollow Knight. There we go. Jesus Christ.
Hollow Knight. Okay.
Yeah, Hollow Knight.
There's a lot of games that are Dark
yeah,
Souls
I know.
side
It wasn't very descriptive.
Yeah.
I thought the bugs would be a good giveaway. There was a Hollow Knight vinyl like for the original soundtrack, and I kind of want it. It looks really cool, despite the fact that I'm not a huge fan of Hollow Knight. But I digress.
It's crazy because like, you know, when I pick up vinyl now, like it's more expensive than a CD, but it's also not like horribly unaffordable. You know what I mean? Like I'm guessing any one of the records behind me was anywhere between like $20 and $30, right? So if you can pick up a CD for 10 to 15, like these aren't that much more expensive.
I actually have in my collection the most expensive record that I bought, and I'll explain that one.
Okay, but as you're picking that up or whatever, I've found certain records, especially classic records, especially like the old, like, you know, like Led Zeppelin's Mothership kind of like classic album, right? Like,
Sure.
Those are like $160, like
Yeah,
starter price, just because like,
Fuck.
you're collecting
first edition
vinyl
pressings
again.
of anything, especially like classic albums like that, are gonna be.
Oh, not even like first pressings, like like redone copies, like they've printed them in the last 5 years, kind of things, like just because they're classic albums. Anything from Michael Jackson or Led Zeppelin or like those classic kind of albums that everybody's going to recognize from now until the end of eternity, kind of thing. Like they're just stupid expensive. Or these no-name small little bands that can't sell out a 1,000-person show, like are making albums that are $20-$25. It's just kind of insane to me.
It's funny that you mentioned classic music because the first thing I thought of was like Johann Sebastian Bach. Like I went to classical.
The pianist or the guitar player?
The pianist.
Okay. There is a guitar player with that name.
Interesting.
I thought he was just Sebastian Bach. I didn't think he was Johann.
Yeah, it's just Sebastian Bach. But
is it?
Well, the classical artist is Johann Sebastian Bach, and then there's a guitarist whose name is Sebastian Bach.
Okay, so I'm right.
Yeah.
I'm not an idiot. I thought I was an idiot. I'm
Good.
like, don't tell me I've been getting the pianist's name wrong. Like, I feel real dumb.
Nah, you got it.
All right. So anyway, next one. This one's interesting. It's Pussifer's V is for Viagra, which is the remix album for their album V is for Vagina. Pussifer is the side project of Tool frontman Maynard James Keenan, the one that's not a perfect circle because he has like 2 other bands other than Tool. But I like Pussifer stuff. It's like a weird mix of like hip hop and country and electronic stuff, and it's really weird sometimes. There's a track on here called Country Boner, which is about fucking various classic country music stars, which is hilarious.
He's a very strange
dude.
dude
With a monkey on it.
He's a very strange dude, Maynard James Keenan. He's
okay.
He's something.
He's something. Yeah, good album. This next one is probably the more interesting one that I have, because it doesn't look like a record. It's like, what the fuck? You just have a comic book, right? And
it does look like a comic book.
Yeah, I do. It's a comic book. And everything. So this is Czarface's Metal with Metal. It's a little 45 there. Very cool. So
nice.
Czarface is a hip hop project with some, I believe, members of Wu-Tang Clan. I got into these guys because they did a collab album with MF Doom that I really liked, and I thought that this packaging was unique. So I picked this up on Record Store Day a few years back, and it's pretty good. It's only
nice
4 tracks. Pretty good.
Interesting.
Now we have probably the most expensive album collection. that I'm ashamed to admit that I spent almost $200.
How much?
Almost $200. About
Fuck.
one. Yeah. So this is Clipping's Double Live, which came out on Record Store Day this year. It was limited to something like 300-ish copies. So this album is unique in that, like I said, it's a live album, but it's recorded from every angle except the band. So think, I don't know, the sink in the green room attached to a roadie in the back, outside. There's literally a track on here that's the sound of like the crew sleeping. It's just them snoring. There's another track on here that's just the sound of leopard seals. It's very strange. And it's got a list of all the samples with the date, and so you read it. The way that they explained it on Twitter is you read it like you would kind of like the playlist in a digital audio workstation, right? So you've got each sample as a track, and then you read it this way, and then where there's a black line on here, that's where the sample comes in. It took me a minute to figure out, but that's how it is.
This confuses yet intrigues me.
Yeah, and the record is a giant CD.
Ah, clever. I like that a lot, actually. That's cool.
You know, if I was into music and like records and stuff, I could almost see myself dropping 200 on that, just to say that I have it.
So I have, based on my feature, my singular feature on your podcast, Mike. I clipping makes me mad. I had to listen to 18 and a half minutes of a fucking piano burning and literally nothing else.
Wait, wait, what?
But buddy, so as I was listening to that album, you were on Discord with me. It was you and Aylin, and we were all having the conversation. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm listening to Mike's album. It's a little bit weird. But it's artsy, you know. Like there's something like artistic about it. It's more like an event than it is music." And then it got to the song titled "Piano Burning." It's literally just the sound of a fire for 18 consecutive minutes.
I'd listen to that.
So I'll give a bit of background in case you're unfamiliar. Clipping is a hip-hop group that features Daveed Diggs, who has had a bit of an acting career. I know he's in Hamilton, which is on Disney+. So Clipping mixes hip-hop with harsh noise, which is an interesting combination, but they make it work, and they have a love for hip-hop. They drop a lot of references in some of their songs. So there's a track on their self-titled album called Get Up, and the instrumental for that song is an alarm clock that through the course of the album harmonizes with itself, and Daveed is just rapping over this alarm clock, and it's impressive and it's very strange.
It's weird because like as you made me listen to that album, Mike, for that feature on that podcast, like there was a couple of tracks where like I had to adjust to it, not knowing what I was getting into, but it was like it's not bad. Like lyrically it's good and rhythmically it's good, but it's not musical. And then you recognize that like, hey, this is more of like an experience rather than listening to music. Like you have to get into the art form of what's behind it rather than just listening to it to listen casually.
So the album that Ted's talking about when he was on my podcast is their album There Existed an Addiction to Blood, which was their attempt at kind of horrorcore and more Halloween themes. So a lot of the tracks on there kind of told a horror story. And Clipping likes to do this thing where they will take like really obscure musical pieces, like that one thing that's like 3 minutes and 44 seconds of silence kind of deal, stuff like that, right? So the very last track on that album is literally called Piano Burning, and it's just the sound of a piano burning for 18 minutes. And the story behind them doing that was the microphones that they used for it were really shitty, and it was just kind of an excuse for them to get rid of shitty microphones. So it's literally just the sound of a piano burning.
Wait, they burned the microphones?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it was like kind of a cool thing to record. It was a weird thing to put on an album. That's where I was at.
You know, but no, I vibe with that kind of mentality. It's funny. It's like I don't want to say it's funny as if to like devalue it, but like it's just like It's strange and it's different, and I like it.
It like I said, it's cool as an art piece. It wasn't like the next
casual,
song
like,
on
I'm
shuffle.
gonna listen to a piano burning because that's
Right.
what I do my studying to. Like,
It's not something I would put on shuffle in my car and be like, "Fuck yeah, that piano's on fire!"
I mean,
that's,
I do that.
like you're just driving down the highway, just like vibing to some music, and then like it comes out, and you're like, "Yeah, burn piano!" And then you just like listen to the piano like crackle and burn for like 18 minutes, just you're going down the highway, like.
And it was awful because at some point during it, like 18 minutes is enough time where you can change your mind on it a couple of times, right? So like by the time you're like 8 minutes in, you go, all right, I hope this has a payoff. Like if this goes from crackling and then based on the rest of the album, they take the crackling sounds and turn it into something that they're rapping over, that would be pretty cool. And it's really artsy and it's really, really good. And I'm excited. And all of a sudden you're 17 and a half minutes in going, please just start something else now. And it never happens. It never goes.
Oh man. That's some quality content.
Clipping's great. I love them. I might talk about another album of theirs on my podcast at some point. Not sure which one, but maybe. But anyway, next up, my favorite King Crimson album, and that is their last album, Power to Believe. So King Crimson, progressive rock band that started in the 70s. Their first album, In the Court of the Crimson King, is probably their most beloved. And I do like that album a lot, but this one, favorite. So if you listen to Court and then this one kind of has more industrial electronic sounds to it, which is stark contrast to Court. Their members have changed over the course of the band existing. Robert Fripp, their guitarist, has been kind of the only permanent member of the band, kind of how Trent Reznor is the only permanent member of Nine Inch Nails. It's kind of like that kind of thing. So as a result, their sound has definitely changed over time, and it's very obvious. You listen to their first album and then this, and it's like, is this even the same band? But I just like how weird this album is. There's a lot of kind of chill instrumental bits on here, and like I said, industrial electronic sounds that I like a lot. Very, very cool.
When you said King Crimson, it took every fiber of my being not to just like scream, is that a JoJo's reference?
Oh, yeah. I already did that.
But like, I know that JoJo characters are named after bands.
Yeah.
And that in fact it is quite the reverse.
I actually talked about their first album on my podcast, and I already did that joke.
Yeah.
So.
Surprise.
Close. Could have had it.
All right. Next up, probably the second most expensive thing that I have.
It's a fancy box.
Fucking book.
It's a box set. Fucking box. So this is Devin Townsend's Eras 4 box. So I think there's 5 of these, each one kind of covering a different leg of his career. So this one is kind of all the Ziltoid stuff. So the first Ziltoid album, the second Ziltoid album, and then 2 of the live shows that he did, Royal Albert Hall and Retinal Circus, all in one little pack. And it comes with this really thick book, kind of giving some background
I thought that was a
information.
record that just got really bendy, and I was a little worried.
There's like a whole introduction thing here, and then like in-depth stuff on each album. So actually something really cool that I want to point out on this, assuming it's in here, I have to find the page. Oh, where is it? Where is it? Where is it?
It's right there!
Searching. There it is. Found it. Happy to help.
For the second Ziltoid album, Devin did a double album. So that includes Dark Matters and Sky Blue. So for that, he did this project called the Universal Choir, where he asked all the fans to send in vocals for the albums. So he posted a part from each album with the lyrics and was like, have at it, send stuff in. Your boy did that. So here is the list of everyone that participated in the Universal Choir, right? So if you go and look at the M's, because it's alphabetical order by first name. Focus. You probably can't see it, but I
did see it a little bit, but I was looking hard for it.
I'm there.
There it is. It's focused. Hey! He's got it. Look at that.
My boy.
Put that on your resume, bro. You've been printed.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I know I'm not supposed to say anything, but the Mad cameo, dude.
stop
Just-
saying shit.
I can't. I can't.
Just
The
don't
man
worry
makes me.
about him.
The man makes me happy.
But yeah, I plan on getting another one of the box sets. It's either the first one or the second one that has what is it, Terria and Infinity on it. Anyway, I love Devin Townsend a lot, so it's very cool that I have that.
That is cool.
Very, very. It
You know,
seems like a neat thing to own. It's not just like any other record. It's not just the music involved with it. Like
Yeah.
you're a part of it.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's limited. So the other box set that I own, that I didn't really intend to buy, I just kind of saw it and was like, wow, this is cool. Dead Mouse's Mouseville, all 3 albums in one box. So I've never really listened to all 3 of these. It's very shiny.
Yeah.
The only track off of this whole project that I really like is Monophobia, that has Rob Swire from Pendulum on it. But I thought it was cool, and I was like, wow, Dead Mouse box set. But yeah, that's just a few albums in my collection. I have way more than that. I guess I'll throw a link at you, Ted, of my entire collection for anyone who's interested.
yeah.
I have like a website link for that. So
Yeah.
if you want to take a look and see what I have, the link.
I think
will
you've
be-
actually sent
will
me
be
that
there.
link.
I've seen it at some point, but I know you've bought records since then. But I can attach it as a link in the description of this YouTube video because that's how you're all watching it. It's not live time. It's kind of weird, dude. Pretty surreal. We're doing this in the past. You're all in the future.
Whoa, no,
It's like the opposite energy of we're doing it live.
Yeah,
We're doing
it's,
it.
It's just kind of weird.
recorded.
Yeah,
It's in the past.
it's kind of it's like that really messes me up with YouTube, right? That like as you're watching it, they can talk to you like it is the present, but they did it in the past. You know what I mean? You like the medium.
Not really.
Well, even if it's only like 2 hours in the past, you know what I mean? Like they're not actually addressing you. We are not addressing you live. Like it's happening at a time previously, but it's designed for them to watch at a time that isn't.
Nathan,
now.
don't post that comment.
But yeah, it's just the whole thing's just kind of like I don't know. It feels surreal the longer you think about it.
Nah, the one thing that's very interesting is albums in general and how they produce music. Like it's just vibrations.
Yeah,
And it just that bothers me. Because I know why sound is what it is, and I know why it works. And I hate that it works.
yeah. Like just seeing how vinyl in general works is like really weird. Like seeing how vinyl is pressed, you basically just stamp some grooves on a platter of vinyl, and you get
Yeah,
sound
it's
off
just
of that.
a log. It's just a log of plastic. They slice it, they stamp it, they mail it, and that's it.
Yeah,
It's weird to me because like I get like to listen to digital music, right? Like it's that recording. So it's literally just a microphone recording. Well, probably not a microphone, but you get what I mean. Like there's just something recording the sound that comes out and just taking it from here, putting it to here, and playing it back to you. Like CDs, same idea. It just reads like essentially something digital and just plays it back to you. Vinyl doesn't make any sense in the world to me because it's actually like this tiny little hair-thin needle rubbing against some grooves, making some sound. How is that less complex? How on earth did that come before cassettes or CDs or digital music? Like, how on earth did we go, yeah, this needle rubbing against those specific grooves makes exactly this noise that no one's ever heard before? That messes me up so bad.
That has to do with sound waveforms, and it's not. So the reason that vinyl, quote unquote, in your description, came before cassette tapes is we had more of a handle on the mechanical aspects than the digital ones, and that's why right there. Like just because we've always been so much more.
Bud.
Yeah, Bud's a
Bud.exe
little.
has stopped working.
I hear him, but Bud's a little freezy. Yeah, Discord's
no.
pooping on this podcast this week.
Oh,
He did it.
It's okay. Yeah, you're good now, Bud. I can see you again. But
okay,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Yes. But yeah, I heard you. But
Yeah, no,
visuals
like
were
the
just-
mechanically, humans have always been more apt to understand that than the digital aspects of this world so far, at least in history. That's probably quickly going to change if it hasn't already.
Right.
But that's why I would imagine. I said, I'm not an expert.
It's just weird to me that like we could figure out that a needle fits these grooves and makes these sounds. You know what I mean? And we couldn't figure out that like, hey, you could just put it on this disc and move on with your life.
Yeah,
but it's like I feel like the complications of either one of those mediums, like CDs are easier, but vinyl was around long before CDs or cassette tapes or anything like that, and it's just strange to me.
You know what I really hate about like CDs and like DVDs, like in general, is the Blu-ray CDs. Like they're not any more fancy. They just use blue because it's the shortest wavelength, and you can fit more information there. Like it's not like, oh, we created a new type of plastic that we can put our CDs on. Now look at how much data we can cram in there. Like no, we just like.
What if it was blue?
Literally, like
that's pretty much it.
Make it blue. like that was it.
Yeah. I don't know. The whole thing's just strange to me. Like data and sound specifically is the one that really messes me up with that.
Dude, it even fucks me up even more by the fact that you can make your own microphone or you can make your own speaker.
Yeah.
With a paper plate, a magnet, and some copper wire.
Oh, so a weird thing that me and Matt have discovered. So I have this guitar here, right? And we've discovered that if you plug it in, sometimes it picks up radio station that we can hear, and for whatever reason specifically, it picks up the like religious radio station, and I don't understand.
Do you shred metal on it?
Yeah.
Okay, so like that's like
we have a recording of this. We've recorded it.
The religious aspects of the world have wiretapped your house, and now they're trying to subliminally message you to not play like your demonized metal.
Oh man, the whole thing's just sound messes with me.
So weird thing about sound waves related to like audiophile hi-fi gear, right? So this is the FIO BTR5. It's a Bluetooth DAC/headphone amp that I use with my fancy earbuds that I bought, right? They're really cool. Wow. So cool thing about this is that they have what's called a balanced output. And so what that does is it takes both left and right channels, and it has like a clone of each channel, but it's inverted, and it uses that as like a noise canceling solution, right? And I don't quite get how copying the waveform but inverting it noise cancels, but
I understand that perfect.
Please explain.
I'll try to give you the TLDR. So if you take a rope and you shake it and you it makes that like whip effect kind of thing, like the waveform, like you can see like this wave travel across like this rope or like maybe a garden hose or something in the backyard. So if you were to take someone on the other end of that rope and them shake it at the same time at the same strength, when those waves collide, you're going to have like a really big wave. It's going to be twice its amplitude of the other two waves, so they'd be added together for amplitude. But if this were a suspended rope and you were to shake your rope up then down and they took theirs at the same time and went down and up, then your waveform is going to go up, their waveform is going to go down. And so when the two collide, the amplitudes will add to each other and you'll have a zero amplitude wavelength. But the really interesting part, after they pass through each other, because they don't just hit each other and stop, the waveform will continue, and your positive waveform will continue towards them while their negative waveform continues towards you. So for that one instance in time where those two waveforms struck each other, and they were exactly the opposite in amplitude and wavelength and frequency and pitch, nothing, because they add their amplitudes. But after that, then they continue.
Interesting.
And so that's why noise canceling works the way it does, is it takes and it literally just inverts the signal and feeds it back into itself at the same everything, and it will cancel out the waveforms. Waveforms are dumb, and they're weird, and they're stupid, and I love them.
Gotcha.
But that's the short, quick and short of it.
Okay.
Very strange. Very strange.
Yeah. I guess that wraps it up for the music stuff. I don't know if we have time for the other topic or if you just want to go ahead and wrap up, but whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I think Discord's been pooping on us. I feel like I feel like it might make sense to wrap up unless we can get through something short.
So my last topic was just kind of I've been vegan since July-ish. So I guess
just like a vegan.
I guess like any I'm relatively new to this. Kind of my idea behind this is buy animal product. Don't buy things with animal products in them. If it has a vegan sticker on it, it's good. Yeah. I guess just like any questions, like someone who's not vegan might want to ask me, who is not an expert on this by any means, which is what that disclaimer at the beginning is for.
Well, I don't say this to be rude, but like the first thing I think of is all those memes. It's like I eat twice the amount of meat to make sure that some vegan isn't actually making a difference. Like,
okay, so, I mean, we've talked about veganism like a million times across various streams or whatever.
Maybe you have.
Okay, sure. I know I've asked you a million questions, or you've been around, Mike, for other people in my streams to ask you questions or whatever. I saw this thing where, like, you know, the big thing for veganism is that it's more sustainable, right? Because it takes less land space to grow the food for a vegan than it does to grow it for the animals that you then eat. The
less
animals,
water
right?
too. So
right.
Depending on what you're growing.
I read this thing that math apparently changes when everybody's vegan. Like hypothetically tomorrow, 100% of people go vegan, right? Like apparently, like livestock are still going to exist even if you don't slaughter them. They still need their food, right? And then with people requiring that land space instead of the animals being distributed to how many other places, that math only works when only part of the population is vegan. Do you have any information on that? Any, like, obviously I'm not expecting you to know math, but
yeah, don't ask me anything about math. So like I said, I'm not an expert on this by any means. So this is probably my first time hearing about this, but I guess kind of the thought is, yeah, animals are still going to need food and water and stuff, but when they're kind of, I guess, treated as like a product where you need a lot of them, that amount increases because you have a lot of livestock that you have to take care of in order to feed the population. So obviously you're going to need more water and more land space and stuff. So I guess kind of the thought is if the entire population were to go vegan, you wouldn't have to worry about having as much of them. So maybe the amount of resources that you would need would go down. At least that's my thinking. That makes sense to me.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't catch all that. My mom needed to talk to me for a split second, but
everybody's mom interrupting but mine. Pog champ, dude. Look at me overachieving this week.
Hey, my mom's freaking awesome.
Yeah, I mean, same.
Not to say that Mike's isn't cool either, but like my mom's freaking awesome.
I get it. I just, like, all I'm saying is if there were gambling odds on this podcast about whose mom was going to interrupt, I feel like I was the gambling favorite that my mom was going to interrupt the most, right?
Okay, yeah, but like
I'm the only one who didn't this week.
Mike would have made the most money, but I was the most probable to actually make that money.
Well, I mean, my mom's been in the room twice, so she's got both of you beat.
That's what I'm saying. I've only been in my room once. Omega lol.
No, I think also what needs to be weighed into that factor is if everyone were to shift to like veganism.
Yeah.
That I think what would be a deficit towards that idea of sustainability would be food waste.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not that we wouldn't use every part of the plant or whatever it is that we'd be consuming, but like animals are still going to be slaughtered and used for stuff other than their meat. Like, you know, like the sinew, like glue, leathers, stuff like that. Not that that's like, we have synthetic leathers now and whatnot, and that's like pleather. I think food waste, I don't know. I'm not really well versed in this topic, so I'm going to shut up before I make myself look even dumber than I already am.
Fair.
Like, I feel like food waste is going to take an effect in there, and that if everyone were to shift to veganism, and I don't want to say like a forced shift, but like the amount of food waste that exists right now is absurd, and unless you're
Yeah.
consciously changing your diet as though a vegan, like you, like I imagine you change your diet to eat the things that you want to eat, and you don't waste much food, if at all.
Yeah.
So if you were to upscale that to like all people in the world, and it was just a common thing, I feel like food waste would go through the roof just in general, because humans would no longer be consciously thinking about what they're eating. It's just what they were served.
Yeah. So I guess kind of when I go shopping, right?
I'm also going to walk away for a moment.
I don't really have a large selection of options, I guess. So there's like a dedicated vegan section in my grocery store,
Sure.
right? So if I go down the street to the grocery store there, kind of by the cheese and stuff, there's a little section of some stuff, and then kind of interspersed in the store, there's some stuff. So you kind of have to know what you're looking for.
Sure.
But if I go to like another grocery store, kind of like 10 minutes from the house, they have like a full-on dedicated vegan section with the fridge and the freezers and the aisles and stuff. So that's kind of nice. Sometimes I go over there. But now that I've made the switch, my diet hasn't really changed. Like I'm still eating hella pasta, fried rice, hot dogs and shit. Like
Sure.
pizza.
Okay.
Like my diet hasn't really changed. It's kind of the
Wait,
ingredients
hot
that are in
dogs?
them has changed. Yeah. So there's just plant-based hot dogs. A lot of them are made out of like tofu and stuff. It tastes just like any normal hot dog, I guess, but it's not made out of an animal. So yeah, my diet hasn't really changed. It's just the ingredients and the things I'm eating has changed.
Alrighty. Interesting. Okay.
I feel like nowadays it's really easy to just go at least plant-based, because there's a lot of plant-based alternatives as things like cheese, milk, meats, especially with like
tofu makes a huge impact on that.
yeah. And now with like the Impossible Burger and the Beyond Burger and all that stuff, like they taste pretty similar to like regular animal-based meat, I guess. The Impossible Burger especially.
Sure.
So I would say now is like as good a time as any to try plant-based stuff. Like
I feel like that's a
easy.
pretty like applicable statement across everything, though. Like the time to plant a tree was 10 years ago, so why not do it today? Kind of thing. Like should have gone vegan like 5 years ago, so you might as well start today, like, kind of idea.
I mean, with like the ability, the availability, and like range of stuff that's out there now.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and I also think there's places that care about you as a vegan now too. Like 15 years ago, Burger King wasn't making an Impossible Whopper. They were telling you, F you, just buy a regular old Whopper. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why you gotta be weird and different?
Yeah. I do have another question, though. So, like, I know that there's a whole big, fight between, like, environmentalists and companies like Monsanto that are doing, like, GMOs and growth hormones and pesticides and that sort of thing. Like, obviously, I think that affects you as a vegan more than it does us that are just going to eat any burger stuck in front of us, like or the chicken nuggets at McDonald's that are 75% gray slop, not actual meat. Like how do you feel like since you've become vegan, you've had to care about these things more, or do you feel like your opinion of them has changed?
About like pesticides and stuff.
Pesticides, GMOs, growth hormones, that sort of thing.
It's honestly not something that I've really thought about. I will say that I've definitely had to look at like the ingredients list of things more. So like when I'm buying bread, I have to make sure that the bread doesn't have like milk or eggs in it, which is something that I didn't even think about might be in the bread, right?
Right.
When I buy potato chips, like Lay's has milk in it, which I didn't even know. So a lot of potato chips I can't eat. I have to be careful when I'm buying snacks and stuff. Yeah, like you'd be surprised. Things that you wouldn't think have dairy products or eggs in them have eggs and dairy in them for some reason, and it doesn't make sense.
I wonder if that comes down to the manufacturing process. I mean, obviously it's going to come down to the manufacturing process, but like, do Lay's make their chips kind of like Pringles, where they just like crush up the potato into like its starchy slurry and then just add things and then bake them or fry them?
No idea.
Make their chips that way? Like, I don't know.
I honestly, I don't know the process, but I've also never had to care. My diet plan is if it's in front of me and prepared, I'm going to eat it, kind of thing. So
sure,
sure.
It's just
so like as a dude who like cares about the environment but also doesn't eat vegan, right? The reason I ask about like GMOs and pesticides and all that is that they sound really bad. Like, yeah, give us preservatives and hormones and just stuff, all this stuff in our food, but like these companies like do their research, right? And where they like they're doing it so that they're right, exactly, is that they're not just like, hey, yeah, let's stick this kills everything on the leaves of this ear of corn, right? And just stick it on the corn cob so the deer don't eat it, and who cares what it happens to humans because F them, we sold the food already, right? Like that's so like the more research you do, like they're doing things that like, hey, it specifically helps the growth of the plant. It specifically makes it like certain modern fruits and vegetables wouldn't exist in the form that we know them if it weren't for like added hormones.
Yeah.
Seedless watermelons couldn't be real, right? But we've done it with hormones and things that like create them to be safer to eat for humans, and they have more like protective values from like, I don't want to say natural predators because I feel like that's wrong, but like the other things that would get into that field and eat them, you know what I mean? Like, but I didn't know, because your diet is entirely based around it, you know? In the grand scheme of things, like, yeah, you can have beef that's been, you know, hand-fed grass grown only on premium manure, and that's fantastic and all, but a burger or a steak is still a burger or a steak, and I don't really have to care what that cow got fed. It got slaughtered and I eat it.
But yeah, like a lot of the organic and kind of grass-fed stuff on there is just kind of marketing buzzwords, really. Like they get it, like the companies that do that stuff, they get away on a technicality. So like free range, for example, they don't really specify how long the animal has to be outside, and they don't specify how big the open area is. So they'll do like the bare minimum, right, for that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, it's like Tic Tacs claiming to be sugar free when literally they're just balls of sugar because they're less than 1 gram. And in order to be considered sugar free, your serving size needs to have less than 1 gram of sugar in it. So like literally piles of sugar is claimed as sugar free.
Oh yeah, I mean the FDA is a sham. Like don't get me wrong, everything they do is a lie. But like I also recognize that like grade A meat, right, just means that 98% of it is meat. Yeah, like 2% of it can literally be just them shoving a literal turd in it. But if it's 98% meat, they don't care. You know,
it's probably more like sawdust.
Yeah, sawdust fillers. I get that. Like, there's also like, you know, bits of belt from when the belt exploded as it went down the conveyor line.
Funny thing about sawdust.
I did see this.
So William Osmond did an experiment on YouTube where he integrated sawdust into Rice Krispie treats and like tested to see how much sawdust you could add before you stop tasting Rice Krispie treats.
It was a very interesting video. I would love a link to this video.
I'll post it.
All right.
But anyways, while you're posting that, I think here's about the time we start wrapping this up.
Yeah, Discord's pooped on us. My computer may or may not have pooped on us, and it's unbeknownst to us because Discord also pooped on us. And yes. So, we never have like a structured way to end these. We usually end them awkwardly, but we do have a couple things that we need to mention. Thank you, Mike, for making an appearance. We appreciate your company. Glad that you can make it. Glad we could get this done. And that this is the last, second to final episode of season 1 Budcast. If this is something you want to see more, let us know in the comments. We're doing one final episode. Episode 6 will be the season finale. Guess you could call it. We don't know what it's gonna. We don't know what it's gonna entail. We don't know how long it's gonna be. We don't know anything about it. Just that it's gonna be the last episode of season 1, and we're not sure if we're gonna do season 2. We want to know what you guys think. If this is something you guys want to see more of, even if it's like 2 people are like, "Hey, I want to see more of this." Like, I'm gonna be one of them. I'm gonna post in the comments like, "I want to see more of this." I think that means we need a minimum of 3, Bud, because you and I want to keep doing it.
So, you know, let us know in the comments, and we might do a season 2. And if we do a season 2, I do know for a fact that the pilot episode for season 2 is going to be us pretty sloshed. We're going to be pretty sloshed.
We discussed a couple of really dumb ideas. We discussed us being like absolutely hammered, like beyond comprehension.
We're not going to be hammered, but like, you know,
I don't know who we is. We also discussed the possibility for like a live episode. I know that you guys have wanted chat integration, but we're scared. I'm scared. Bud may not be scared. I'm scared.
Anyways, with that said, thanks for watching. We appreciate it, and that's all I've got. I'm a drink.
Yeah, I think that's it. Thanks, Mike. Yeah,
I'll do a quick little plug. Check out my podcast, the music podcast. It airs every Sunday on my Twitch around 5 p.m. Mountain Time if Steven's not late. So yeah, if you're interested in hearing more music stuff, come check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. As always, check out the Discord. You're already watching this on YouTube, and make your friends follow the YouTube and threaten them violently. Don't do that. Don't threaten them violently. Just threaten them non-violently. They definitely should join. And otherwise, let us know in comments what kind of things you'd like to see in the future. Other podcast ideas or streams or whatever, man. Yeah, we're all simps for all of you.
We're pretty unstructured. We just go with the flow.
We're simps for you. But yeah.
Maybe he is, not me.
Okay. That's fine. All right. And that. So we got
awkward ending.
Wow.
I just want to sit here for a second. Let the awkwardness marinate.